We're going to get things started. Thanks for coming. First, I'd like to ask the Member of Provincial Parliament for Trinity-Spadina, where we're sitting, to come up, Handang, to come and introduce the Minister. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of a busy schedule to join us this morning. As a Member of Parliament, Provincial Parliament, for this area, I'm very pleased that this event to be held in my riding. This is a place that I grew up. I spent the last almost 20 years here. I've seen huge changes, unprecedented changes to Trinity-Spadina, and largely due to the growth of the condo community. And we look around here, we're in the forest of condos, which is awesome. So I'm particularly pleased with the government's initiative and moving forward on the updating and modernizing Condominium Act, whether it's the Condo Act, whether it's childcare initiative, and I know the ministry is looking into the reliable elevator. I know that through TSSA commissioned a report looking at the reliability of elevators. All of these things are to help dwellers in the condo community to have a livable community, to have a good experience with this community. So I'm very pleased that today we're going to hear some update on the Condo Act, which was passed not too long ago. So the government is working very hard on this to bring it forward. So it's really good news to me. And without further ado, I want to bring somebody who's been working on this for a long time throughout the consultation phase and everything. And I would just nothing but thank you to say to the Minister, the Honourable Tracy McCharles.
Thanks, Han. And you're right, we're in the middle of a sea of condos for sure. And I want to thank you for your introduction and for being such a strong advocate when it comes to condo consumer protection. You mentioned your private member's bill on elevator availability. And I want to thank everyone else, too, for being here today. I'm just going to drop this because it makes a lot of noise when I smack it against the podium. Excuse me. And as always, I want to take a moment to recognize that we're gathered on the traditional territory of several Indigenous nations and pay particular respect to the Mississaugas of the New Credit. And I want to also acknowledge the hard work of people gathered here today. You've helped us arrive at the next level of strengthening protection for condominium communities across Ontario. So whether you're industry folks here today, ministry folks who've worked on this for years, I want to say thank you for what you've done to get us here. And as you'll hear in my remarks, there's more to do. There'll be different things happening at different times, but I think we're well on our way to making protection for condominium owners better, for supporting people who manage condos and so on. And those changes will take effect in the coming months and will be phased in. Some pretty quickly, and some will take a bit of time. When the Protecting Condominiums Act received royal assent in December of 2015, it marked the first time in 17 years that laws regulating the condo sector in Ontario had been significantly updated. And we know the province's condo market has changed dramatically in those intervening years. More than 1 in 10 people in Ontario call a condo their home, and this number continues to rise. The province now has more than 750,000 condo units and about 10,000 condo corporations. And condominiums represent more than half of the new homes under construction in the province. That's a pretty significant number. Excuse me. The tremendous increase in the number of condos across the province comes with challenges, of course, that need to be addressed on behalf of owners and residents, managers, boards, and many others. And as a government, we're committing to helping build healthy condominium communities. Comme gouvernement, nous sommes engagés à construire de saines communautaires de condos miniales. We want to provide greater confidence and security for condo owners in their investment and greater stability in their day-to-day lives in their chosen communities. We want to ensure that better information is provided, that new tools are created to resolve disagreements, and that condo communities have greater support to operate more efficiently and more harmoniously. I'm very proud to be enacting condo legislation for appropriate mechanisms to be put in place that will strengthen consumer protection measures and better support fast-growing condo communities across the province. I'm particularly pleased we've arrived at this point through extensive consultation that's engaged a broad range of condo experts, stakeholders, and members of the general public, both in the development of the new legislation and since the Act was passed. Those who care deeply about this sector have helped inform the changes that are being put into place to support the long-term sustainability of condominium living. Some of you here today have attended meetings, others helped review and revise reports, or contributed in other ways. I want to express my sincere appreciation to everyone who participated. Building healthy and sustainable condo communities requires an approach based on collaboration and, of course, compromise. The new law coming into force would not have been possible without the active participation of so many involved in the sector. Their input has contributed to the building of a solid foundation for us to move forward and ensuring the future needs of condo owners and residents are met. It's important to underscore that the overall goal of the Protecting Condominium Owners Act is to strengthen the condo communities across Ontario in different and key ways. The changes will put more information into the hands of condo owners and residents so that they clearly understand their rights and their responsibilities. They will be provided with the tools to help them resolve certain disputes in condos in order to build more harmonious communities. The Condo Act is a very complex piece of legislation, so tools are needed to better educate everyone associated with condominium communities. New tools such as templates and checklists written in clear and easy to understand language will be provided to support members of condo communities to actively resolve conflicts on their own. The new changes will improve condo governance by improving communication from condo corporations to owners, including new procedures for meeting notices, setting up a new process for owners and managers to request and access records of condo corporations, introduce new voting rules, including allowing owners to cast a secret ballot, and strengthening disclosure requirements for condo directors and candidates for director positions. These changes will mean that condo owners will be kept better informed about the running of their condominium community and will be given greater opportunity to have their voices heard. Condo directors will also be given the tools to better carry out their roles and responsibilities through the introduction of an online education program they'll be required to complete. I believe this is an important step because we want to ensure that condo directors are equipped with the knowledge and competence to fulfill their roles. Another pivotal change is the introduction of mandatory licensing for all condo managers and management providers. I think I actually started that work back in 2013, so I'm glad to see it come to fruition. For the first time in Ontario, those involved in condo management will be required to comply with legislation that is very specific to the sector. New entrants in the field will have limited authority until they've gained enough supervised experience to ensure they're prepared for the responsibility of managing a condo community. And we know how complicated the condominium business can be and is. This will help ensure that people managing condominiums have the necessary training and skill sets to excel at their jobs. It will also provide condo owners with the confidence that their communities are being well managed and the important investment is being well protected, because after all, it is a big investment. There'll be two new administrative authorities to oversee and implement the changes in the condo sector that I've been mentioning. Since 2016, we've been working hard to establish these new oversight bodies. The Condominium Authority of Ontario, or CAO, which will be designated on September 1st of this year, will focus on helping owners and residents. while the Condo Management Regulatory Authority, or CMRAO, which will be designated on November 1st of this year, will administer the Condominium Management Services Act. This will include regulation of the condo management industry. And I want to take a moment right now to thank the leadership of the two administrative authorities, particularly Chair CAO Tom Wright, if you could wave or stand up, Tom, that'd be great. And CMRAO Chair Aubrey LeBlanc. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge Robin Defoe for her hard work as interim executive director of the two new administrative authorities. Thank you so much, Robin. I met with all three of these folks last week, and I feel very confident in their leadership and the work that they've been doing thus far and will continue to do to make this a reality. So thank you so much for that. As I mentioned, the CAO will be designated September 1st, and will begin delivering some services, including responsibility to queries from the public and by phone and by email. It's anticipated the public will seek information from the CAO about common condo issues, including smoking, noise, and pets. In addition, it will likely be handling inquiries from condo board directors regarding issues with owners. The CAO's website will have helpful information about these kinds of issues. And the website's already going. I shouldn't say will. It does have helpful information already. The authority will help condo owners and residents to better understand what it means to live in a condo community. Additional information and services will continue to be phased in over a period of about a year and a half to support the community. I believe that the Condominium Authority of Ontario will be an important ongoing resource for condo owners, residents, directors, and others that have interest in condo communities. And Han, I don't know if you know this, but I think it was our colleague, MPP Monty Quinter, that gave me the advice way back that we should call it the Condominium Authority.
That's right.
That was his suggestion.
I think he told me that before.
Yeah,
yes.
so I want to give him a shout out because, you know, sometimes when you're coming up with names and acronyms, it can be a bit much, but I think it was just perfect, and I thank Monty for that. It will help to build consumer awareness and share knowledge, of course, and be an ongoing resource for condo owners. It will empower and encourage condo boards, owners, and residents to independently understand issues and resolve disputes between themselves early on, which we heard a lot about and how important that is, and try to avoid more involved dispute resolution wherever possible. This will help build more cohesive and resilient condo communities. In the meantime, it's very important that Ontarians know their rights as condo owners. As an owner, you can vote, and this is currently, to elect directors to the board to help influence important decisions about your home. You can request an owner's meeting to raise your concerns or remove and elect new board members by sending a written petition to the board with the support of owners from at least 15% of the units in the building. With certain exceptions, condo owners have a right with a request in writing to review the records of the condo corporation. It's important to know these rights and to exercise these rights. Through CAO's website, condo owners and residents will be able to access targeted information on specific type of issues, some I mentioned before, such as noise complaints, accessing records of the condo corporation, and of course issues around bylaws and rules. The Condominium Authority will also be responsible for managing dispute resolution services. The dispute resolution service encourages both parties to first use an online process to attempt to resolve issues by themselves, and second, to encourage the services of an online mediator, or as a last resort, escalate matters to the Condominium Authority Tribunal if the dispute can't otherwise be resolved. Reaching the stage of a decision by the tribunal will be considered a last resort, as the goal is that by accessing supports, the parties resolve the issues earlier in the process, and I would say more economically as well. As of November 1st, the Condominium Authority Tribunal will begin providing dispute resolution services on matters relating to records of condo corporations. The scope of the issues addressed by the tribunal will evolve to include more areas over time. Currently, if parties can't resolve their disputes, they often must go through private mediation and arbitration or to court for certain disputes. And of course, pursuing these avenues come with a hefty price tag, and in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars. I think we've all heard those stories. The reality, though, is many conflicts aren't resolved and continue to fester. Unresolved issues eat away at people's quality of life and diminish their enjoyment of their home and their community. The changes being implemented will increase access to justice in resolving issues, as well as to help maintain the integrity of condominium communities. As I mentioned, the services of the CEO will be phased in over time, and the services it offers will grow as it continually assesses the needs of condo communities. Starting in November, condo directors will have to complete a mandatory online education program to support their knowledge and competency to serve as a member of a condo board. And we know that being a director is complicated business in the world of condominiums today. New disclosure requirements for condo corps and new notices for owners' meetings will also kick in November 1st. Over time, new rules will also be put in place to improve the finances of condo corporations and strengthen protection for purchasers buying a condo from a developer. I'd like to now briefly highlight the role of the CMRAO, which also plays a very important part in strengthening consumer protection in the condo sector. As I mentioned earlier, it will be designated November 1st of this year. It will be overseeing licensing requirements for condo managers and management providers. This will include administering applications and education requirements. The authority is currently holding public consultations this summer on the proposed application and licensing fees for condo managers and management providers. I want to underscore this is a key development for the condo sector. For the first time in Ontario, condo managers and management providers need to be licensed to provide their services. In February 2018, a code of ethics is anticipated to be in place and discipline and appeals committees set up to address and resolve alleged violations of the code. At that time, the registrar will have the power to review complaints about licensed condo managers in order to ensure that members of the regulated sector follow the rules. So going forward, I'm very excited and very proud to have reached this important turning point in strengthening consumer protection within the sector, and we're continuing our work. Je suis très heureuse et fière d'avoir atteint point tournant important dans le renforcement de la protection des consommateurs du secteur des condos. Nous continuons notre travail. Excuse me. We anticipate further changes, including increased disclosure requirements for developers, new reserve fund rules for condo corps, and additional changes to improve how condominium corporations are run. We're committed to keep working collaboratively so that Ontario condos and condo markets continue to grow and transform. We'll be well positioned to adapt to support a vibrant and sustainable condo community across the province. Thank you for being here today. Again, thank you to everyone who has been part of this journey to date. I'm appreciative, our government's very appreciative of that. Thank you, MPP Dong, for being here. Merci, miigwech. I'm Macaulay, yes.
Thank you.
Great. We'd invite some questions for the minister. Anybody has any?
How much is this going to cost taxpayers?
So that I knew would be the first question. Who asked that? Yes, it's CBC, yes. So through the Condominium Authority, which will be up and running in September, and fees will be applied by December, I think. I'm looking at my experts here. My understanding is the average cost would be about $12 a year per unit, depending on the size of the unit. Yeah, like $1 a month, yeah. The licensing side, which is Aubrey's world, that's in consultation in terms of fees on the licensing side. But I think your question is more about what does this mean for consumers in the short term?
So that, excuse me, so that fee would be paid through your condo fees, so the board would essentially pay the government, or how will that work?
I'm going to call up my experts now, and they're going to help answer some of these process questions, because I believe it goes through the corporation, and then there's a process. So I'll turn it to Tom.
Again, I'm Tom. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, certainly. Again, I'm Tom Wright. I'm the chair of the Condominium Authority of Ontario. The minister is correct. The fee, if it ends up being that $1 a month the minister refers to, will be collected by the Condo Corporation, and the Condo Corporation will remit it to the Condominium Authority of Ontario. It doesn't go in, if you will, into the hands of a government, the ministry, or anywhere. It's what the Condominium Authority will use in order to provide the services the minister has described.
How many disputes a year does the tribunal see now?
Actually, at this point, and it's one of the questions that we have been working on, the tribunal itself will not come into existence until November of this year. And as the minister mentioned, it will start off by phasing in the types of disputes that it will deal with. And the first is relating to record requests, which, based on information we have been provided and the various groups have been provided, seems to be one of the sources of disputes that exist as far as condo owners are concerned. So that's going to be dealt with first. As time goes on, after consultation, other areas of potential dispute will be addressed and added to the jurisdiction of the tribunal. We've been working hard to try to determine the kind of demand that there's going to be as far as the tribunal is concerned. And it's really one of those things that I have to say you best guess at this point. The minister mentioned the number of residents that now live in condos. You use that. You look at whether or not there has been a pent-up demand. In other words, there are people out there, as the minister referred to, who haven't had satisfaction from previous disputes. Will they come forward? And if I'm going to look to Robin and say, we have a number, but it's a total approximation. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll just relay what Robin said, is that the goal is actually, in terms of the stages of that process, is to resolve as many as possible at the early stage of the tribunal process. But I think more importantly, and this ties in again to the minister's message, that the prime role of the condominium authority is to support both owners and the condo boards. Our hope is through what are referred to as guided pathways, which are ways of finding information, all of which takes place prior to a dispute even coming to the tribunal, that these disputes will be reduced at that initial stage, and they won't go on to the, if you will, the more formal process of a tribunal. I appreciate that's an incredibly long answer. Doesn't give you a figure. We simply don't have, other than speculation as to what exactly it will be, and it's one of those unknowns that creates a little bit of anxiety as to the amount that we're going to be seeing.
Will there be user fees as well? I understand there's the monthly charge, but people use it.
There is, and it's out for consultation now. Feedback has been received. I mentioned 3 stages of that dispute resolution process. The initial stage, there's a fee of $25. The second stage, if you move on from what we'll call negotiation to mediation, there's an additional fee of $50. And if you should happen to get to that last stage, which is the actual adjudication stage, the fee is $125.
Hopefully less than the court costs.
And I think it's fair to say that's certainly less than if you were ever involved in any other type of proceeding. So the total is $200 if you were to go through the full system. And again, I think our hope is that combined with information, combined with the other two stages, that it's going to get resolved early on. I have to remain, I see your smile, I appreciate that. I have to remain hopeful.
How much staff are you going to be funding at the beginning? How much employees are you going to have to answer all your calls and concerns and owners?
Right. Actually, at this point, and we're just finalizing the organizational structure, we're looking at a total of 15, but we're also looking at how we make arrangements in terms of handling the calls. One of the concerns that we've identified and are addressing is we want to get off to a good start. And in order to do that, you have to be able to respond in a reasonable amount of time. Again, we're not 100% sure of the demand as of yet. So we're now looking at how can we staff without hiring permanent people necessarily in order to deal with that perhaps initial group of requests that we're going to be receiving or information requests that we're going to be receiving.
How is it going to be passed on down to the managers and the boards after the calls come to you?
There's no direct mechanism in terms of just an information request. The information, presumably, let's say it's a condo owner who is actually making the inquiry. Our hope is, and I think it's a reasonable belief, that they will find out the information they need and it will never go any further from there. So that's how we anticipate it happening, and I think that's a reasonable prospect.
Right, in terms of the dispute resolution fees, who exactly will be paying them? Will it be the person bringing forward the dispute?
Yes.
Or will it be shared between the parties?
No, it will initially be the person who is bringing the dispute.
Okay, and sorry, who will be qualified to adjudicate disputes?
We will be hiring trained adjudicators. I believe, and again, this is early days, we still haven't got to that point because the tribunal doesn't actually get in operation until November, which is not a long way away. I appreciate that. But we're talking about trained adjudicators, people who have experience in that, people who have experience, in the condo community, so that they can, again, try to make this fairer, less expensive, and I think more importantly than anything else, to ensure that people feel they've been heard in a forum that simply hasn't been in place before.
Tom, one of the items you mentioned is not only the collection of fees, but the collection of data. What types of information do you see the CAO collecting to create that, where you answered a couple of questions this morning just by saying we don't have that information and that information has been collected. What types of information do you see yourselves collecting from managers and boards and condo owners?
Well, I can only speak certainly to the condominium authority. There will be an initial information return that condo corporations are required to provide. The final content of that form is still being determined. But again, there will be ultimately, and I'm glad you asked the question, because ultimately there will be a public registry, which will have the names of the corporations, the directors, and certain other information that is yet to be identified. So it's early days, but again, primarily it's a matter of making people aware of who's involved on the condo board, the address of the condo corporation in case it's needed for legal reasons, as well as various other bits of information that are still being finalized. Yes, sir.
Hi, I guess proxy fraud is the biggest problem in condominiums. And how do you think that we're going to deal with that?
Well, I have two answers. The minister, I think, has already provided one, but my answer perhaps is just a little bit different. And this is where I see the benefit of what the condo authority plans to do in the first place, which is it's to support owners and it's to support the boards themselves. There will be mandatory training, as was mentioned, so that you have directors who are more aware of what their obligations are as directors and how it is they carry them out. This is my recollection because the CAO is not directly involved in it, but I believe other changes to the legislation will involve a standardized proxy form, which will be what is required to be used. Plus, it goes with the other comments of the minister, if I may, around declarations that candidates will have to make who are running to be directors. In other words, if they're non-owners, et cetera, there are conflict of interest rules that are in place now and are going to be further supplemented. So I think a combination of those factors are going to address, not all of them, but certainly some of the fundamental issues around use of proxies.
That's a question about the education. So based on the November 1st timeline, does that mean the education, the director education will be in place then? And secondly, what requirement and when do the directors have to take the course?
Actually, this is part of the way the authority is approaching issues like education. There's actually going to be a starter, if you will, director training course that's going to be available starting September 1st. But it's just a portion of what ultimately will be required. One of the reasons for doing that is to get feedback. We already have feedback on the course itself, but this will provide feedback in terms of constantly adjusting the course to make it relevant. November 1st, the requirement will be 3 hours. It'll be online. It's broken down into 7 to 10 minute modules, and anyone who is elected a director after November 1 will be required to take that course.
Is there a fee associated with the course?
No, there's not. We talked about it, but no, we felt that, when you look at the services being provided, that's one of the core services, and you really want people to take advantage of that opportunity. The other thing that we plan on doing is making that course available to anyone who wants to look at it. So you've got condo owners who may have questions about how their board is doing its business. Well, they can go ahead and take that course, look at part of it, and again, at no cost.
Folks, I'm going to cut it off. Do you have one more question over there?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what is the substance of the training for condo managers? What will they learn or improve that they don't?
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that.
What will they learn that they don't already know, or what's the aim? What are you looking to improve there?
Well, there are two kinds of practitioners in the marketplace today. Those that have voluntarily taken training or development through the facility of the Association of Condominium Managers of Ontario. So that's leadership that the industry has shown up until now. And there are 4 modules that essentially reflect the law, technical matters of construction, finances, and more administrative and HR issues. So that's sort of the backbone of the 4 clusters of knowledge that practitioners should know. There are those who have not availed themselves of training in the marketplace, and that's to a large extent what this initiative is about. And as a result, we're going to be actually using some of the ACMO material for a period of time because they've shown leadership in the industry to get voluntary qualifications sort of in the marketplace. So that's the essence of the training requirement going forward. There's also an experience element to things. Most regulatory requirements also are based on a period of activity in the industry, and so rules are being set around that as well. That's pretty typical. I think you'll find there's always a education and knowledge part of it, and there's a practice part of it as well.
Sorry, just a follow-up. What percentage of condo managers are already taking advantage of the licensing and training provided?
Well, we don't know what we don't know. By the way, my name is Aubrey LeBlanc. I'm chair of CMRAO. It's called Hit the Ground Running and Fill in Behind.
All right, folks, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for coming today.
Thank you.
And we're going to move this podium out of the way and just for some pictures if anybody wants to.